Hey everyone, welcome to our, what is this, our 12th session on language learning. I see a bunch of people in there already. Come on in and say hello. There are a lot of people that already joined, but you're kind of quiet in the chat. So come on in, say hello. You can say where you're from, and everybody is always welcome, of course. I hope this is going to be a fairly short session. First of all, as usual, thank you so much for joining us today. Can't believe that we've had so many sessions already and people keep showing up. I really appreciate that. Just real quick before we start, where is that? Just a reminder that during a live stream, you can send super chats or super stickers. That's a way for you to show appreciation for what I do and for the channel. You will be supporting not only these live streams, but other videos on the channel. It's a way for you to say thank you. It's a way for you to support the channel so that I can continue making videos. And the more successful the channel is, the more videos you get. I have messages already. Also, another way for you to support the channel is to become a member. There are different tiers. One of the tiers, you get some extra contact with me. There's some posts to the community chat. I haven't posted a lot to the community chat lately because I've been working on other things, but I will continue doing that. Some people become a member just to show their support for the channel. For a little bit of additional communication with me. There's a second tier where you get bonus videos. Actually, right now I'm working on a bonus video for the latest video that I posted on the verb there will be some extra information and extra practice for members only. So becoming a member is a way for you to say thank you and also to get some additional information. Wow, the chat is kind of busy today. Let's see what's going on here. Awaiza Freedy from Pakistan. Cool. I don't think we've had anybody from Pakistan before. Awaiz, welcome. Ellison, good to see you back. Ellison has been a great supporter. He shows up for all the live streams, participates a lot. I really appreciate it. Ellison, welcome. And Ellison is from Brazil. Roxana Chavez, good afternoon. Greetings. Roxana is from Mexico. Roxana is one of our first members. She's been very active in the channel. She writes comments to videos, not only here, in Snap Language, but also Snap Language Learner. Welcome, Roxana. I appreciate your being here. Lou Fons, what have I been missing so far? Not much. We're just getting started. Welcome, Lou Fons. Bakhtiar Abdullah, hello. Iraq, welcome from the United States. Bakhtiar from Iraq. Studying TESOL master students. You're in the right place. We'll be talking a little bit about things that I'm sure you'll be able to implement in your TESOL classes, in your ESL classes. Phoenix, Michael Null, Phoenix, from Phoenix, Null, Phoenix. In Arthur Martins, where are you from? I live in Texas, the southern part of the United States. Oh, thank you, Roxana. All right, let's get into it. Thank you so much for all the lovely text messages or comments. I will be looking at the comments right there. So while I'm presenting, if you have a question, if you have a comment, you don't have to wait. We will not have maybe towards the end, I'll give you some time to ask questions, but just jump in. If there's something that you want to know right away, just jump in. And if I don't see your question or comment, just resubmit it. All right. So today we're learning a little bit about phonological and phonemic awareness, not only in English but in any language. These sessions are about learning any foreign language. We'll be looking at how vowels work, how consonants work in any language, and then how to apply this phonological awareness or whatever you're learning here to your second language learning. I'll have some examples. All right, as a reminder, I do not have any snake oil. There are no quick fixes. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions. So take everything that I say here to heart, and if you think that it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, just do something else. Ignore it. I already talked about that. Just a quick reminder, especially for the new ones. When I talk about... sorry, I forgot to set something up here. When I talk about L1, I'm referring to your native language, whatever language you call your mother tongue. An L2 or a target language is the language that you're currently learning. So if you're learning French and you came to the session because you're learning French, you want to learn something about language acquisition, French is your L2 or your target language. And remember that there are different learning contexts. You have a situation where, for example, you're learning French in France, so it is a second language. French is a second language. If you're learning French while living in the United States, then it's a foreign language setting. If I say something that applies to, for example, you're learning English in the United States, but you're not living in the United States, well, just, adapt. Think of how you can use that. All right, so this is the scenario here, right? And this may be very familiar to many of you. So some people say, and I hear my students say that a lot when I teach pronunciation and listening and speaking and things like that. They say, I can tell that some sounds in the target language are different, but I cannot tell why or reproduce the sounds. When I ask a native speaker to help me, they repeat the word several times, the word that has that sound, but I still can't tell. You can't even identify the sound. Or sometimes I think I'm making a sound correctly, I'm producing a sound correctly, but then I'm told, no, that's not it. Okay, I'm sure if you've been learning a second language, you've gone through the situation where, you ask a native speaker about a word and they pronounce it and you repeat exactly the same thing and they go, nope, that's not it. So we'll be addressing some of this issue. There's no quick fix. It has to do with first acquiring an understanding or an awareness of the phonology of the language that you're learning. So how do you do that? Oh, first let's talk about, why? Why is that? If you don't have any hearing problems, why is it that sometimes you can't tell what a sound is? You can't hear the sound. Like in English, if you say, for example, beat and bit, some people say it's the same word, beat, bit. I hear the same. It's the same thing. Well, there are several reasons for that. Well, first, differences between similar sounds in your L1 and L2 can be very small. So let's say that in your language you have the E sound. English also has the E sound, but it may be a little bit different. And people, like the native speaker says, that's not quite it. I say, but I'm saying the E, it's the same. The difference between E and E, it can be very, very small. You go like, well, you're saying the same thing. I say, no, I'm not. Okay, one is E, the other one is E. You go, it's the same. No, it's not. Okay, if you're a native speaker, you can hear it. And sometimes even within the same language, you have differences between two sounds like E and I in English, where your language may not have that difference. So your brain will hear the sound that's closest to a sound that exists in your language. So if your language doesn't make a distinction between E and E or E and E, you go, it's the same, because your brain says, well, between E, it's the same for your language. Okay, but for English, E, these are two sounds. E, these are two different sounds. Okay, so as you gain an appreciation for the phonology of the language, the more you learn the phonology of your target language, the better, that's the idea, right? The better you become at identifying these subtle differences. Your brain has mapped sounds in your L1. Okay, as an infant, you can't even speak yet. You're just listening to your caretakers, and you keep hearing all these different human sounds, people talking to a baby. The baby's brain is busy listening to the sounds and identifying the sounds of the language. Okay, subconsciously, okay, or subconsciously. Okay, the baby is starting to map. For example, a baby raised in an English-speaking environment starts mapping the sounds. All these are different sounds. I hear all these sounds. But a baby in a different environment, where perhaps the language only has E, A, O, U, the baby will never hear the sounds in between. Okay, so as you grow older, your brain starts getting really, really good at identifying the differences between the sounds in your language and the L1. But then you start learning an L2, and your brain is like, I don't know what you're doing. These are the same sounds. I can't even hear the difference anymore. Okay, as an infant, you could hear any difference between any human language sound, but we start losing that ability as we grow older. Okay, so let's talk about vowels. We'll be talking about vowels and consonants. Okay, so this is how linguists mapped the vowels. Okay, there's this, which I think is really genius, the way they did it. Okay, look at the picture of the woman here. Okay, see that, imagine that this is her tongue. Okay, so this part of the tongue is the back of your tongue. This is the tip of your tongue. Okay, our tongues can move up and down and forward and backward, right? When you move your tongue up and you make a sound versus moving it down and moving it back, you are changing. You're changing the shape of your mouth. Okay, so if you move your tongue forward, if you just make a sound, okay, but then I move my tongue forward inside my mouth. So if I move my tongue back, if I raise it, so if I start down low, okay, so you can play with your tongue inside your mouth and say, yeah, yeah. And these are the vowels, okay? But of course we do this really, really quickly when, you're speaking your native language. You do this very, very quickly, and we don't think, I'm going to say, beat. So I'm going to put my lips here, I'm going to put my tongue there, and I'm going to move it up and move it back. It just comes out, okay? That's why when you're learning a second language, at first, it's really difficult for you to say even the simplest sentences. And as you gain fluency, as you practice and you start gaining fluency in the language, it kind of just comes out. You don't even have to think about it anymore, okay? That's part of fluency, right? Okay, so let's see how this chart works then. So remember, this is the tip of the tongue. This is the back, and you can move your tongue up and down. So the sound E, which is represented by this symbol, Now, this is important, okay? This is the International Phonetic Alphabet. These are not really letters. These are not letters. They are symbols. They look like letters, but they're not. You're not supposed to read them as letters. They're symbols, okay? So when your tongue is up and forward in your mouth, okay, you make the sound E, E. If you move your tongue all the way back, E, E, so you have E and You go, what is that sound? Well, we don't have the sound in English, but you have this sound, ooh. The difference between and ooh is your lip rounding. Okay, so when you have these pairs of vowels, the one on the left is unrounded. You don't round your lips. You keep your lips relaxed. So you say ooh, 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 e, ü. So let's say you're learning German, okay, and you have like the plural of book in German is Bücher. Some people have a really hard time saying Bücher because you don't have that sound in English, okay? Unless you're learning a language, you're learning German, and your language already has that ü sound, it wouldn't be a problem. And you go, oh, but how do you say ü? They look at the spelling of Bücher, and it doesn't help very much. And actually, it messes you up because of the spelling, okay? But you do have E in your language, probably. So if you say E, and you round your lips, Ü, E, Ü. Well, that's the Ü in Bücher, okay? So E, Ü. So here you have rounded U, U. If you unround it, U, U, U. Okay, does that make sense? If it's not making sense, let me know. So if you move from, if you move your tongue from being in this forward position and you start lowering it, you will change the quality of the vowel. Okay, so you go from E, but you're doing other things with your mouth too. For example, in English, you have the sound ah. Notice the difference between which is a little higher, like in bet, and bat, Notice how I change the position of my jaw when I say bet, bat, So for you to be able to say an you have to kind of lower your jaw a little bit so you can bring your tongue down, okay? And of course, if you go all the way down, you have So I think the sound is kind of ugly, especially if you exaggerate it. Like if you're just speaking at, just normally, you'd say cat. But if you exaggerate it, cat. Kind of open your mouth, okay? So Of course, in English, you don't have some of these sounds. For example, you don't have a pure in English. It's always a. It goes from here, and then you raise your tongue to the a. Okay. Same thing with There's no in English, but you can say I. Notice how I start with my jaw kind of down. And then I raise my jaw and my tongue to say the I. Okay. And remember, you have unrounded and rounded. So you have E, U, E, U, which you have in French, German, E, U, E, There's no rounded. I don't know. I don't know how to make all these sounds, by the way. So, all right. So now let's move all the way to the back of the mouth. So you have as in father. Okay. You have the unrounded and the rounded aw. Okay. Father. Aw. O. Which is like book, is an unrounded, not but So I hope this is making sense. I know if you never saw this before, it's like, what? So let me know if Ellison is saying I got confused trying to do that. Yeah, it can be a little confusing. I'll give you some resources so you can, look this stuff up later if you're interested. Now, this here, right in the middle, is a really important sound in English and in a lot of European languages. Okay, this is the schwa. It even has a name. It's called the schwa. It is a very relaxed. See that it's right in the middle. Your tongue is not raised. It's not lowered. It's just there. It's dead in your mouth. If you just relax your tongue, relax your mouth, and you make a vowel sound, it is okay. This is the most common sounds in the English language in words like ago, like a year ago. Of course, you don't say ago. You say ago. Words that end in O-U-S in English, like marvelous. It's a very lazy, relaxed sound, right? You don't say marvelous, you say marvelous, or callous. Let's see, like in the word beautiful. Okay. The word but, B-U-T, when you're in conversation, you don't stress the word but unless you want to say. If you say, well, but, then it's but over here. But in quick speech, you'd say something like, well, I was there, but I didn't see him. But I didn't, but. Okay, so you're not doing anything specifically with your tongue. All right, let's move on and take a specific look at English. So notice that from here to here, you lost a lot of vowels, right? Well, because not all languages use every possible sound that you can, or vowel that you can produce in your mouth. So Roxana's saying it's difficult. Sorry, Roxana, it's difficult, but if this is your first time looking at this, just focus on becoming aware that there are differences. And then, as I mentioned, I will give you some resources that you can take a look at later. And I would recommend you look specifically at your target language and your native language. If you look at your native language and you see how the vowels in your native language are represented, it starts making a little bit more sense. And it'll be surprising because we're not really aware of the vowels in our native language. We think we are. So these are all the possible sounds. These are the sounds in English, sort of. Okay. So let's use words. Okay. This is the B and the T with a vowel in the middle is great because it hits almost every vowel in English. So, for example, beat, beat, bit, beat, bit. Remember, we don't have this pure E in English, but you'd say bait. So bait. So beat, bit, bait, bet. Just follow along here. Bet, bat, bite, bite. I explained but, the unstressed but, to say I went there, but I didn't see him. Bet, this sound, just kind of central, lower in your mouth, It only occurs in English with an R, So Bert. Then we go, where do we go? Oh, now go from bottom to top over here. So you have bot, okay, bought. I'm sorry. Oh, I messed up. But over here, but, so bought, but, O also does, a pure O doesn't happen in English either, so it's O, as in boat, boot, boot. Now, I put a little note here that you have boot, but this sound is kind of changing in American English. A lot of people, depending where you live in the United States, you don't say boot, or you don't say boot. You say something between oo and e. It's not oo, it's not e, it's in the middle. So it's boot, boot. Can you hear that there's a little bit of an e there, a little bit of a oo? It's boot. So I bought new boots. I bought new boots. I bought new boots. Boots. I tend to say boot, not boot. And this here would be the oo in foot. Foot or book. So it's not oo, it's lower, and it's not rounded. It's book. Okay. All right. Now, what happened here? Look at all the vowels in English. And, what happened to all the vowels? Well, a language like Spanish has a smaller vowel inventory than English. It doesn't mean that, Spanish is less than English. English has more vowels. Woohoo, we're the winners. Doesn't work that way. A language like Portuguese or Danish, for example, has a lot more vowels than English. It doesn't make those languages better than English. It's just the way each language is. So in Spanish, you have e, not a, not a, but a, o, and u. And that's it. So every word in Spanish will have one of these vowels. Well, you also have combinations like ya and yo, you, uy, stuff like that, when you combine two vowels. But basically, you use these vowels in Spanish, and that's that. So if you're learning Spanish, woohoo, you don't have to worry so much about vowels. Just make sure you get these right. Now let's look at the consonants. See if there are any questions. Even the professor gets confused. Yeah, I get confused all the time. That's nothing new. Sometimes I have to stop and think. Okay, so this is going to work the same way. Let me get out of the way here. You have this chart here, which is actually mapping what happens inside your mouth. But now we're talking about consonants. Okay, consonants are a little bit more complex in some ways because you instead of like when you're talking about vowels, you're just making a sound, right? And you're moving your tongue, and moving your jaw. But when you have consonants, you also have something called the points of articulation. Okay, you have to articulate the sound together with the vowels. Okay, so linguists were very smart, and they mapped all the sounds according to where they are articulated in the mouth. So, for example, a sound like p, 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 as in papa or pope. Okay, it happens with your both your lips. That's why these are called. Let me make it bigger. So p, p, and b. These are bilabial, meaning you use both your lips. Okay, but you also have a difference between the place. The place is using your lips. versus going all the way back to, for example, the where you have the back of your mouth. It's called the velar area of your mouth. Okay, but there's also the manner. How is the consonant produced? Well, bilabial, meaning you use your lips, and it's a plosive. The manner of articulation is plosive. Plosive kind of sounds like explosive, right? Actually has the same origin there, same etymology. It means that you hold the air in your mouth, and then there's you release the air. For example, with a and b, okay? But you can also hold the air and release it by putting your tongue, if you move back in your mouth, so these are like dentals, keep going back to the area right behind your teeth. There's that little bump right behind your teeth. If you put your tongue there and you hold it and you hold the air and then you release it, or d, d. Or you can go to the back of your mouth. You hold it and let the air come out. So it's velar because it's in the velum in the back of your mouth. Hold it. G. You go, oh, uvular. The uvula is that the way back in your mouth, you have that little thing hanging in there. Can you hold the air back there and release it? Yeah, Arabic has this sound here. It's a k. Can you notice the difference between k, 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 k? So if you look at the place, you have p, t, inside your mouth, k, in the back, k, k, way in the back. And this here is the like when it say aha, or uh-oh, it's way in the glottis, way in the back, uh-oh. English doesn't use that sound, only when you say uh-oh, but we can create words with and some languages do have that sound, and they create words with that, like u. Okay, and then you have nasals. Nasal sounds like m, bilabial, m. You let the air come out through your nose. Okay, so there's like resonance inside your nasal cavity. Like, remember I said that you put your tongue in the back of your teeth where you have the bump. You put the tongue in the same place to say n. So t, n, t, n. The difference is that here you hold the air t, and release it. Release it. For the n, you hold it, but you don't release it. It's not plosive. You let the air out through your nose. No. Okay. A lot of languages have nasal vowels even. Like in Portuguese, you'd say in. Okay, so these are nasal sounds. English has a lot of fricatives. A fricative, the manner is that, here it is, fricative. You hold the air in your mouth, but you don't stop it. Okay, when you say p or you hold it. You don't let the air out, and then you let it out. That's why it's called a plosive. But for a sound like you don't quite hold it. You just kind of stop it a little bit. So you have this, right? So v. Now look how beautiful it is. In English, you say f, v. What's the difference between f and v? F, v, f, v. The difference is that it's called a voiceless sound. It's just I'm not using my voice. I'm articulating, but I'm not using my vocal cords, okay? If you say and you use your vocal cords, it becomes v, v, v. Okay, same thing with if you go back a little bit where you have dental, you have. I'm not using my voice. Okay, it's a voiceless sound. But if I use my voice, so this is the difference between think, and that. If I move back a little bit, so I'm letting the air out, I'm holding it a little bit, and if I add the sound, this is how I teach my Spanish-speaking students to say, for example, they want to say, instead of video, they say video, okay? Or something like a zoo, they say su, because Spanish doesn't have v or z, but they have fa. So I tell them, video, for you to say video, it's like saying video, fa, video. But make the f a v. And usually when they stop and think about it and they realize that f and v are, have the same articulation, the difference is the voice, they start getting it. Doesn't mean that, they won't make mistakes again, but they start becoming aware, okay? And this is what the session is about, is becoming aware of what the sounds are, what are the vowels, what are the consonants, how do they work. And then you look at your language and you realize in your language you have voiceless sounds like k, g, k, g, okay? Or sh, this here, sh, sh. This is behind the bump, right? Sh, sh. Well, if I make it voiced, sh, 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 as in pleasure, okay? So I'm going over the sounds in English. These are the ones that are like greenish here. If you have an interest, I'll give you a link where you can look at all these different languages. For example, if you speak Arabic, you have sounds like ha and ah and ha. If you speak German, there's a h sound. If you speak Dutch, there's the y. So we have y. Oh, Spanish also has y, but they don't have y. Dutch has y and y. You start realizing that, there are not that many consonants, but different languages will have different distributions of consonants. Okay, if you're learning your L2, your target language, that happens to have many different sounds compared to your native language, you're going to have to find, where do I put my tongue? If there are many different vowels, know exactly, do I raise my tongue? Is it close to, for example, I said like the U that many English speakers struggle with when they realize that an U is simply an E that they can produce, E, but U, you just round your lips, E, U, E, U. Oh, that's it. Okay, you go like, whoa, that easy, huh? Again, it doesn't mean that you will immediately be able to, start speaking that language and, sound like a native. But you start realizing that, okay, I need to put my tongue forward here, or the E has to be really E, or back a little bit, more like or E, or E, or what, okay? Here are the resources that I told Roxana and somebody else about. There's an interactive IPA chart. Let's go take a look at it. I find this really cool. Let me make it bigger. Okay, so here are the vowels that I was showing you, and you go like, oh, so this is E, so the tongue is raised.
E, U.
Sorry, let me,
E, U, U, U.
okay, and then you have your consonants here.
Ba, a ba. Ba, a ba.
And the reason they're saying pa is that so that you know, for example, pa, what this sounds like at the beginning of a word, and then pa, so what it sounds like between two vowels.
Da, a da. Da, a da. Ka, a ka. Ka, a ka. Ra, a ra. Ra, a ra.
This is one of my favorite sounds. Ra, ra. This is the sound that I think I told you guys in one of the sessions that it took me like 10 years in Dutch to be able to say ra. And still, to this day, sometimes when I speak it, it doesn't quite come out. So this is one of the resources. Another one that people forget, it's free, easy to find. Let's say you are learning, let's see, I don't know, how's this? Learning French. You can click here.
Maison. Maison.
Dutch.
Huizen. Huizen. Huizen.
So the reason I'm giving you this is because you go like, oh, huis, huizen, huis. So you use this. Well, you have to know, you have to be learning the language for this to make sense, right? So you start identifying that, all right, so in Dutch, you have this sound, a, and u sound, a, and in a word like huizen, I combine these two sounds. And then you go to here, you can hear only the individual vowel. If you go to Google Translate, you will hear that sound in a word. Google Translate is not very good for entire sentences. Like if you put text in here and you listen to it in the translation, number one, sometimes the translation is not very good. And number two, it sounds really kind of mechanical. But it's good for you to identify individual words. Another one, if you're learning English as a second language, is the Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary. So let's say marvelous. That a lot of my students want to say marvelous, marvelous. So you put in the word here, and they give you the IPA pronunciation, the transcription here, and you go, oh, I can't read this. I don't understand this. So I'm going to say marvelous. Well, now you know that this sound here is that very relaxed, the schwa. You say marvelous, marvelous. And you can play it
Marvelous.
here.
Marvelous.
You can play it. Okay, so as you're using the dictionary, you're looking at these phonetic transcriptions that up to now you have probably been ignoring. I can't read this, so I'm going to completely ignore it. But you're ignoring something that's really useful as a language learner. Okay, you have a phonetic transcription. You can play the sound. You can go look it up and say, oh, so this is in the back of the mouth. This is kind of forward. Then look at your language and see how your language works and say, oh, so in my language, it's this sound here. It's an ah, but in English it's ah, which is farther back. So phonetic awareness, your phonological awareness, you're becoming aware in a more intelligent way. I can't find a better word. In a more intelligent way, you're becoming aware of the sounds in the language as a scholar. Okay, you're learning specifically how sounds are produced, as opposed to what most people usually do. They just sort of learn the language, pronounce it, and hope for the best, and practice. But a lot of times, you're practicing. You keep practicing. You still can't hear the difference, right? That I said at the beginning. You still can hear the difference. And then you realize that you've been practicing saying that word incorrectly. But if this is an additional tool that you have, okay? Learning the International Phonetic Alphabet, being able to look up the words, understand how vowels are produced, how consonants are produced, and how these differences produce different sounds and in different languages, including your own. If you start looking at your own language and learning how sounds are produced, you might even be surprised that you think that two words have the same sound, and you go like, oh, not really. I thought they were the same, but they're slightly different. Okay. So Julian's asking about affricate sound. I don't remember an affricate. Fricative, affricate. I have to look it up. Look it up. Google it. Affricate. I'm sorry. I don't remember. All right. Now, do dictionaries lie? Because sometimes you look a word up in one dictionary and then you look it up in another dictionary and it's like different pronunciations here. Okay. Or you learn the word, you look it up in the dictionary, they show the pronunciation, and then you talk to a native speaker, they pronounce it differently, and you say, wait a minute, is the word like this or like that? Okay. Take, for example, in English, the word roof. Roof, R-O-O-F, roof. Yeah, if you look it up in a dictionary, one dictionary might give you roof, ooh, roof. Another dictionary might give you roof, 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 room, room. So what is it? Is it room or is it room? Well, the thing is that full transcriptions are difficult. They're often overkill for native speakers. Most dictionaries are, target, unless you buy specifically, or unless you use a dictionary that was specifically designed for language learners. They just give you one pronunciation, sometimes roof. And if you say roof, you go like, oh, well, I say roof, okay? The sounds are very close to each other. Most native speakers won't really even notice much of a difference. Okay, there's something called a broad transcription versus a narrow transcription. A broad transcription is what they use in a dictionary. They just give you, okay, there's this sound, but don't ask me for many details. Okay. And it's good enough, especially if you're a native speaker, because you know how the language works. Intuitively, Also, you have the standard versus the spoken second language, and they're used differently anyhow, right? So some people, depending where you live in the United States, will say, for example, park, like to park a car. Park with a sound, park. Some Americans say park the car, park the car, park. So will the dictionary show park, and explain, that's just too much, okay? And even the standard language, if you look at the standard language, sometimes there are subtle variations that a dictionary goes, oh, this is just way too much information, okay? Let me just give you the basics, and it's enough for most everybody. Yay, Roxana! Roxana, you are just absolutely awesome. Roxana sent a super sticker. Thanks for being you. Oh no, thank you, Roxana, for being a wonderful patron, a wonderful supporter. Roxana is already a member, and she sent a super sticker. Thank you so much, Roxana. It really helps. It really, really, really helps a lot. It's been a difficult summer, to say the least, because I think I've mentioned before that, people stop watching. My videos are educational, and a lot of people that watch my videos are in school, but during the summer, a lot of people are, in their summer break, and things are picking up a little bit now. And Roxana, this really helps a lot. I really, really, really appreciate it. Okay, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so you have broad transcription and narrow transcription. In phonetics, when you see a transcription between slashes like this, it means, this is kind of broad. It's just giving you the basics of the sound. But if you want to show exactly how something sounds, you use the brackets, and it gets really complicated sometimes. So let's look at, the T. Let's pay attention to the T sound in top. The dictionary will give you this, right? Top, stop, and tart. Did you know that these are 3 different T's? They're not the same T. They're different. They're very different. Well, not very, very, very different, but they're different, okay? So to show the difference, I can put this between these brackets, okay, and say, hey, this T here in top, it's aspirated. It means that you don't say dop, dop, you say top. Okay, a T in many languages, it's just t, 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 right? T. In English, it's ta, ta. There's this this burst of air that comes out when you release the T. So in phonetics, you put that little H there, meaning this is not top. This is not top. It's top. Okay? But when you say stop, stop, you use the real T, right? You don't say stop. It's really hard to say stop. Okay? You just say stop. Okay? And what about tart? Well, I can say the aspirated T, tart. So there's another T here, tart. Or I can say tart, tart. And you hear the difference between tart, tart, and tart, tart, tart. So this symbol on top of the T means that T is not released. That's very common in American English, other types of English too, but it's very common in American English. You don't release the T at the end of words. It depends on the situation, right? So you'd say a tart. Okay, I ate a very nice tart. Okay, or this juice is very tart. Tart. You don't say this juice is very tart. Tart. Okay. So this is a narrow transcription. So you should be very careful if you're learning a target language. You use a dictionary. You're all happy with the pronunciation that they show, but always be prepared that some of these transcriptions they will probably be narrow, meaning broad. They're just giving you the most important part of the word. The little details, is it top or stop or stop? You kind of have to learn that separately, okay? And that's where it gets kind of difficult. So as far as, precision, this will not give you a lot of precision. But with time, as you learn the language and you're curious about the pronunciation, you're trying to improve, your articulation, where you put your tongue and stuff, you may start noticing, because you're becoming aware, right? You're training your ears, you're telling your brain to do some remapping of sounds in there. And as you start gaining this sensitivity to different sounds, you start going, wait a minute, sometimes you say tart, but sometimes you say tart. You don't release the T. Look it up. Look at pronunciation, or ask somebody, a linguist, about, what happens at the end of a word? What happens to the T there? Okay. So for you to apply this, learn as much as you can about your target language's phonology. Remember that in most target languages, the spelling is only a, can you read this? The spelling is only a representation. The spelling is only a representation of actual sounds. Some people say representation. Some people say representation slightly differently. It's just the spelling is definitely just a representation. Phonetics gets a little closer to the actual pronunciation, not 100%. But remember, there are many dictionaries that you can look at the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet transcription, and you can play the sound, okay? So read it, try to remember, those vowel sounds and stuff. Play it 100 times. Be careful if you're learning American English, if you find a dictionary, but when you play the sound as British English, it might kind of throw you off, especially at the beginning, because there are many differences between British English, American English, Canadian English, Australian English, okay, and so forth. And this happens within a language. Okay, so let's look at an example. So let's say you're learning Portuguese and you learn the word casa. You go like, oh, casa, and people say, it's not really, it's not casa. Your is to like ah. Okay, then you learn that in Portuguese, you have all these weird sounds here, a lot of nasal sounds. Okay, and you see that the is not it's not over here, but And there's this upside down A here. Remember, it's close to where the schwa is, that So it's not it's Oh, so you don't say casa, you say casa. I don't know if you can tell the difference. If you don't speak Portuguese, it doesn't make any difference to you, probably. Okay, but you have down here, casa. Okay, then you have, passo. If you ask most Brazilians, how you pronounce this O, they will say, oh, it's a U. And then say, oh, passo, like U. They go like, no. It ends in an U, but not passo. It's passo. Well, they're not telling you, probably because they don't realize it, that it's not really a U at the end. It's this here. U. Passo. U. Not U, passo, but passo. Okay? Then you have passa. So passo, passa, like casa. Okay, so you start going like, oh, casa, passa, passo, su. Okay? Let me skip this. I don't want this to run too long. How are we doing time-wise? I lost the timer here. I don't know what the time is. Okay, anyhow, let's go. Oh, no, this is too much. This is too much information. I cannot deal with this. A lot of people must be freaking out right now, right? Too much information. Roxana was already saying like, this is difficult. I don't understand this. Okay, chill. Take a bubble bath. Relax. You have the rest of your life to practice your target language. And just gain as much awareness as you can as you go along. Incorporate what you're learning. Okay, have fun. Every now and again, think about a sound in your target language. Is it different in my target language from the same sounds in my language? It sounds a little different. Go to Google, let me show you something. That's another resource here, Wikipedia. So if you do, for example, Portuguese language, the first link usually will be Wikipedia. And a lot of people say, oh, Wikipedia, that's not very good. Actually, for this, it is. Usually somewhere, whatever language you look up, they will have the phonology of the language. So they have the Portuguese vowels over here and the consonants over here. Sometimes you can click them and play the sound.
Ba, ba.
Okay. Of course, everybody knows how to say ba, ba. Oh, unless you speak Spanish. So yeah, you may need to practice everything. Okay, so here it is. This is Portuguese. The vowels and the consonants. Okay, and sometimes they will give you a lot of those, narrow things. They'll say, well, yeah, this is the R sound. However, in this part of Brazil, in Portugal, they say this way. In Brazil, they say that way. Sometimes you pronounce it. So they give you some phonetic notes over here. I have been using, looking up languages in Wikipedia. And the languages that I know, all the information looks okay. I haven't seen any, really bad mistakes where it's like, oh, absolutely not. So that's something else that you can use. I don't think there's one resource that you should use. You should kind of glean information from everywhere. So look, this is an interesting example. Let's say you're learning German. Okay, there's this sound here. Let's say you're an English speaker learning German. Ich liebe dich. This means I love you in German. Ich liebe dich. English speakers have a really hard time. They say ich liebe dich, ich liebe dich. They try the ich. What they don't realize is that this is the sound here. Okay, it is a palatal sound, so it's similar to the yeah. This sound here, yeah, but it's fricative. So it's like saying yes, but yes. Go, oh, that is too hard. Okay, you think it's really hard, right? How do you say huge? At least in American English, okay, you say huge. You don't say huge. You say huge. Human. Ich liebe dich. Ich liebe dich. It's the same sound as in human. So I find it kind of mind-blowing that, I've seen English speakers learning German and they're like, ich. And then all you have to do is say, when you say human, that's the sound. And they go, oh, human, ich liebe dich. And they go, oh my God. But then, of course, the next time they say ich, they say ich, because then you need to practice a little bit. In French, you have, oh God, French has all those nasals, right? It's this enfant, fin, enfant, fin, what, right? Well, look it up somewhere. This is another dictionary that I have a link to this dictionary. It's a multilingual dictionary. It doesn't have all the languages, of course, but it has a lot of languages. Maybe you're learning one of these languages. And the reason I like this is because it uses phonetics. So, so this is the and let me make it bigger. There. So this is that in father, and this is the in bet. Oh, so, but it's nasal, okay, the little tilde. It's saying it's not enfant, enfant, but it's enfant, enfant. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I don't speak French, but I'm closer than saying enfant, enfant. So it's enfant, enfant. And you can play it.
Enfin.
Enfant, enfant, enfant. Oh, so it's close. It's similar to this sound that exists in English, but I need to make it nasal. I have the sound in English. I need to make it nasal. We have F in English. You're halfway there, okay? Knowing that may take some of the... knowing where those sounds are and how they're actually similar to what you already are able to produce may take some of the magic away, may take some of the, oh my God, this is so difficult, I'll never be able to produce the sound. I think that's it. You guys have any questions? I know I kind of zipped through this. I lost my time. Can't show the... don't know where I used to be able to see the time here, so I don't know how we're doing time-wise. If you guys have any questions, this is your opportunity. The next, remember I told you last time that I wasn't sure about if I was going to make this a 12-part series or a 13-part series. I decided, I think probably, unless you guys give me a really good idea, I think this is probably going to be the end of it. Oh, no. I think this is going to be the end of the language learning series. Doesn't mean it's going to be the end of live streams. I have a few ideas for future live streams. I'm still thinking about it. Again, if you have any ideas, go to Snap Language, to my channel, click Community, and you can leave a message there. I'm actually going to post a poll to the community tab. So be on the lookout for that poll. I'm going to give you some ideas and ask people what they think, if they would rather do this or that. But again, you know, I would really appreciate it if you told me, hey, why don't you do a session about X, Y, and Z? I might say, oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's a great idea. Or, you know, sometimes just because you make a suggestion, it doesn't mean I'm going to do it, because sometimes your suggestion is great, but it would take way too much time for me to prepare, and it would be very difficult for me to do it. So I have to kind of balance things. Oh, don't say goodbye, Ellison. It's not goodbye. It's see you soon. See you later. We're going to continue doing that. Like, one of the ideas that I have, I'm still trying to figure out how to do it, is to do kind of like a game show, a Snap Language game show, where I would ask questions, and I don't know if I would do like people actually live, have like guests. For example, I could invite Ellison and Roxana to be two contestants. I don't know how difficult that would be for me to pull off. Or if I would just like ask questions, give you a few seconds to answer through the chat. That's one of the ideas. One of the ideas that I have is to do kind of like this series that we just did on second language acquisition, but to do like a phonetics 101, not phonetics, linguistics 101. It would be like a college course. Let's say you went to college to learn the linguistics. It would be like probably the things that you would learn in your first semester. So talk about phonetics, phonology, syntax. I don't know if people would have an interest, and that's something else that I need to balance. That sometimes you may have a great idea to do something like, oh, linguistics 101, but if I feel that people are not excited about it, I have to take that into consideration. I can't spend a lot of time planning and being here and doing the actual live stream, but then only a couple of people are interested. I can't do that. Artur Martins, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for the compliment. I enjoyed it. Julian said in Spanish we'll have the ña. Ña is one of the phonetic symbols that I went over. Let me quickly go over some of the questions here that I missed. See, Ellison said Portuguese has more vowels. What? I thought it was like Spanish. See, Ellison speaks Portuguese. Whoops, sorry. I was not supposed to do that. Nope. Where, what do I want? What do I want? No, desk and chat. No. I don't know what I want. Let me just close this. Sorry about that. There. Yes, Ellison, that's what I was saying, that, you know, because you speak Portuguese, you're not aware of all the tiny little differences that you're having in your own language. So if you ask most native speakers of Portuguese what the sounds in Portuguese are, or the vowels are, they will say, oh, a, e, I, o, u, or maybe a, e, I, o. But, you know, you have a, on, oing, I. If you take in like all of the possible combination of vowels, Portuguese has like 20 some vowels. So yeah, Portuguese is very complex. The vowel system of Portuguese is extremely complex. See, I don't think I missed anything. Julian, Andres, I'm sorry about Africa. I just totally blanked out on that. I'll probably look it up and kick myself for not knowing it off the top of my head. Thanks again, Artur Martins, for your great compliment. And I guess that's it. So again, this is not goodbye forever. No, don't go away. Probably I will skip next week, next Saturday. Be doing some planning and some deciding. If you have any ideas, let me know. You can contact me on Twitter and Instagram. You have that on the side of the screen there. At Snap Language. Really appreciate it. Please consider joining the channel. It really helps a lot. Roxana, thank you so much for being a member already and for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I think Roxana Roxana supported this live stream. Everybody should thank Roxana because she made these live streams possible. I really appreciate it. All right, I don't see any more questions. So guys, I really appreciate it. See you in 14 days. Take care. Bye.